Hi there. So we're going to talk about cattails a little bit. This is my favorite plant in the entire world. I love them dearly because they are one of the most useful plants in the world. Right now what we're doing is we're collecting cattail heads for dinner. So the cattails have two sections here. We've got the male and the female. The male will turn to pollen here, and I bet you I could, yeah, pollen's coming off. And what that's going to do is it seeds the female, or pollinates the female, and the female turns to seed, like the sausagey fluffy thing here that you're used to seeing. But what I want today are the male heads, because I steam these up and eat them, and they're absolutely delicious. You can eat it raw too, but it's not quite as good. I like to steam it up with butter. It's so good. It's kind of sweet and buttery, even without the butter. And you can eat the female too, but it's not quite as good. So the cattail actually has an edible part of it all times of the year. So right now we've got the male heads are in season. Also what you can do is showing you the pollen that comes off the male. And what you can do, you just shake that off in the bucket. And this isn't a super good one, but if you get the camera in close here, you can see the yellow that came off. That's a high protein powder right there. Yeah, doesn't really taste like much, but you can use that as a protein powder in shakes, or if you get enough of it, you can use it as a flour substitute in recipes. So that's a great protein source from plants, so you don't have to hunt the wonderful ducks that are nearby. So we're going to harvest a little bit of that too. If we can find some really good ones, I think we'll find some around. Also in the early spring, you can take the really young shoots and harvest them. If you want to walk with me right over here, we got some smaller ones. So you just pull it up like that, and this part right here, it's really not good right now, but you eat that, and in the early spring, the bigger ones, they're coming up, and so they're nice and thick, and they taste like cucumber, same texture as cucumber. It's not my favorite part of the cattail, but when you're in like late February, March, April, when there's not much else coming, it is a good source of nutrients. And then the rest of the year, through the fall and winter, you can harvest the roots. So you dig in there, and it's nice because they grow in swamps, so the ground's not going to be frozen. You dig in there and bring up the roots, and it's usually, well, there's roots and then there's tubers for the new shoots. The tubers taste better, but you can also eat the roots. And it's a really good source of starchy carbs. And so you can either just chew it up and swallow the starch, or you can grind it up and get all the starch out. So that's also another flour replacement that you can have. It's really hard to find starchy carbs here in this environment in British Columbia, so that's an invaluable source of that. But besides food, cattails are also a very practical plant. You can use them for all sorts of practical things, like this one piece I had here. So the sausagey part, you notice it's also nice, really nice, light and cottony and downy. You use it as down for a pillow. I like to use it in my tinder bundles as a coal extender, so you get a good chunk of this in your tinder bundle, and your coal's not going to go out. This will not catch on flame itself, but it won't let your coal out. You can also use it as a torch. You put pitch on this, and you probably want to use one that's not quite as far gone, and it'll work as a torch. It'll last like an hour or so maybe. Yeah, it's a really cool scene to have a bunch of these kind of staked in the ground, and you got torches all over the place. It's very primal. The stalk here, I've been told you can use it as a handrail material. I've never been able to make fire with a cattail stalk. Perhaps my handrail skills aren't that good yet, but I'm told you can use it for that. You can use it as a building material, especially the newer ones. It's a little bit stronger. It's not going to build you anything really heavy, but my teacher Tom Brown says he'd make rafts out of it with the stalks and the leaves. So the leaves are a very, very useful material. They're very good for weaving. They're nice and strong and pliable, so you can make cattail hats out of it. Baskets, they're very popular for making baskets. Mats, blankets, anything you can weave, like if you're weaving with palm leaves or if you're weaving with inner cedar bark, you can use cattail leaves for the same thing. Ideally you want to harvest them in the fall when they're dried out so you don't have to wait for them to dry, but you know, you can use it at any time. Any other uses for cattails? Oh my god. There's just so many. I think that's all for now. That's cattail. You throw me in a cattail swamp, I'm gonna live luxuriously for a good long time. Alright, thanks a lot. See you next time.